I'm EZRAH, and this is the Manila Times. The armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard are boosting its external defenses with more aerial and surface maritime patrols following the latest swarming of Chinese vessels in Iroquois Reef and Sabina Shoal, west of Palawan coast. Iroquois Reef is located south of oil and gas-rich Recto Bank and within the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. The Western Command of the AFP reported at least 52 boats, some of it believed to be part of the Chinese maritime militia, were found around Iroquois, also known as Del Pilar Reef, on June 30. Also there are Chinese Coast Guard and People's Liberation Army Navy vessels near Sabina Shoal. Here with us is former National Security Advisor and UP Political Science Professor, Dr. Clarita Carlos. Welcome to the Manila Times, ma'am. Recently, there had been efforts from both sides, even the US, to de-escalate tensions in the West Philippine Sea or the South China Sea. So how can the current administration handle the renewed aggression of China in the disputed waters?
Well, we'll have to dig into history to find out the explanation for what is going on. I'm sure everybody knows that the exclusive economic zone per the UNCLOS that we have declared as ours is contested, meaning it is being contested by other rival claimants. And the continuing aggression of China and the efforts of the combined Coast Guard, Philippine Navy, that has been going on for years and years, even before I was NSA. But before I resigned in mid-January, I had already informed the president in several memos about the need to shift gear because we have been sending China, hundreds of note verbal protesting its actions. Nothing happened. So why are we continuing to do this thing when and expecting different results? That's idiocy. So I said, let us shift gear from high politics to low politics area. Let us talk about fish. That is why I'm writing a book on the need for a regional regulatory fishing regime that will involve everybody because the talking about fish would be a much, much lower level than talking about territory and sovereignty. Unfortunately, I left even before these things can be operationalized. But so what you noted a while back is just a continuing thing, more of the same things.
Mom, do you agree with the armed forces and the Coast Guard's move on ramping up maritime patrols in the West
Oh,
Philippines?
that, we have been talking about that for years and years. So I don't know that it's not anything new. What they need to do is to involve everybody whose interests are there. Involve China in the patrols, involve Russia, involve Japan, South Korea, all the countries washed by these contested waters. After all, while they're doing maritime piracy, HADR, humanitarian assistance and disaster response exercises, they are really engendering camaraderie among them. That is my point about the low politics proposal. And we can't do anything about this high politics because China is so militarily powerful that it will be idiocy on our part to even confront it militarily.
So, Mom, would you agree that de-escalation efforts have to be done?
Yes, but let us do it on our own as autonomous Philippine Republic, not because we are the tail of the American kite. That's why when you mention the U.S., okay, let them be part of, they are a Pacific power, and once upon a time, South China Sea was part of their AOR, Area of Responsibility. They want to join it, then join it. But, we cannot be doing these things because America says so.
Mom, with the upcoming State of the Nation address of President Marcos, so what can we expect to hear about national security?
Of course, we don't want to preempt the president, but I would imagine he would provide the public an explanation of why we veered towards the US and what the context was for that kind of action. And, whenever a president of any country for that matter takes major foreign policy action, the public has to be with him. Because without the public, remember, all government authority comes from the people. So without the public, I don't know that foreign policy will wash anywhere.
Following up on that foreign policy, do you agree with Philippines' bilateral and trilateral agreements with other countries?
Of course, I have been promoting that very, very actively. It's called multi-alignment. In fact, one of my last memos to President Bongbong is for us to apply to be a member of the BRICS, to apply to be a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, because these are economic groupings. They will represent markets for our pineapple, mangoes, etc., our professionals who would like to migrate to these countries, while at the same time, because the Mutual Defense Treaty is still operational, while at the same time, enhancing our relationship with the United States. This can be done. Why not? It's called multi-alignment.
Ma'am, again, going back to the issue. So the Coast Guard, the Philippine Coast Guard, and the AFP Armed Forces of the Philippines seem to be alarmed with the increasing number of ships, of vessels of the Chinese Navy and the militia in the West Philippine Sea. So how do you think should the Philippines handle this tension?
With great difficulty and with great creativity and innovation. When I was at NSA, I discovered that there is a MOA between the Chinese Coast Guard and the Philippine Coast Guard, except that it was moribund. Why? Why don't they activate that so that they are going to be talking with each other? Because this is white on white. In fact, Philippine Navy is not involved here, because when you involve the Philippine Navy, you would have raised the level of conflict and not higher. And that is not where we are going. It should be white to white. White is Chinese Coast Guard. White is Philippine Coast Guard. Let them activate that MOA. They already have the basic framework there.
All right. And any last words, ma'am, for the upcoming State of the Nation address?
The administration, I have been asked so many times to make an assessment of the administration. I'm hard pressed to do that. They've been there only for 365 days. I've been there only for what? 6.5 months. And people already want us to achieve gargantuan, results, products. No, let's not do that. You supported this administration with 31 million votes. Please continue to support it until the end of its political life in 2028. And after all, why are you putting the government in the pivot of your life? You are supposed to be the active participants in our government. Government is there only to regulate. It's not supposed to create value. The private sector is there to create value. So I like to pound this in the in the heads of 110 million Filipinos. Pag palagi kayo nakasandal sa gobyerno, for God's sake, gawa ka niyo ng sarili ninyong ang galing-galing niyo naman magreklamo, Parang kayo ay participant. You are participants in making a better Philippines.
Very well said. Thank you so much, former National Security Advisor and UP Political Science Professor, Dr. Clarita Carlos. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Thank you, EZRAH.